sacrifices that they made over all those years. But let us start with the beginning of our travels to this land. Sometime as many as 500 to 1,000 miles, our ancestors walked with yokes on their men, with yokes on their collars. Women carrying their children in their arms and on their back, over 1,000 miles. 50 million people were affected by the slave trade. Some 20 million died in the wars to capture each other. Another 10 million died on that walk from inland to the coast. When they put our ancestors on that ship, on those ships, there were 18 million that were put on the ships. And only 15 million of our ancestors made it to the New World. Now, you look at some history books and whatnot, and they say, oh, it was only 10 million. Another one, oh, maybe it was 11 or 12. But my research shows that it was 15 million that arrived here. What happened to that 3 million between the time our ancestors were put on that? Any of you all ever open up a can of sardines? Yes. Well, our ancestors were packed in the holds of those ships, as tight as sardines are packed in a can of sardines. They were either side by side, or they were in what they call spoon fashion, laying down in this fashion with each other. They couldn't go to the bathroom because they were shackled and chained. So they had to go right where they were. I remember when I was on that ship and I had diarrhea, and it just trickled down on those people below. I remember when that guy on the shelf above me had to urinate and it trickled right down on me. That was part of the condition. You couldn't turn over. You couldn't back up and move. And you only had 1 hour out of every 24 that you went up on that deck. You went up on that deck to eat. Maybe you did a little exercise, a little stretching and whatnot to try and loosen up those muscles. A lot of them ended up crippled because they couldn't move. Oh, it was a wonderful life for those who were in slavery, but pure D hell for us down in that hole. I mean pure D hell. Sometimes, even though my buddy next to me was very healthy, one day he went up on that deck, looked around, nobody was close, jumped over me. He had told me, I'm tired of this, I can't exist this way. He committed suicide. And then there were 3 or 4 next to me. Those 3 or 4 next to me, sick. They had caught smallpox. One of those sailors up on the deck. Or they had malaria, because they were from a rice-growing area. Malaria was often prevalent. So since they weren't going to be healthy enough to make some money for the man, chucked him over. When others died, they were thrown over. Now, from the time that ship left the coast of Africa, came to wherever they were going in the Americas, those sharks had a grin on their faces. Here they are. They knew they were going to be fed well during that trip. Those thrown overboard, sickness or death, those who jumped over. My wife often says she knows that the route those slave ships took was the same route that the hurricanes take to come here, because those trade winds flow in that direction. She often says, the route the hurricanes take and the routes those slave ships took. At the bottom of that route, there are the bleached white bones of over 3 million of our ancestors.
We've been coming a long time, oh yes. We've been coming a long time, coming a long time, coming a long time, oh yes. We had trials on the way, oh yes. We had trials on the way, oh yes. We had trials on the way, trials on the way, but we've been coming a long time, oh yeah.
All right.
In reflection of this day of remembrance, I think of my trip to Sierra Leone. And I went to the Bunce Island slave castle and prison, just ruins. And just as in my visit the year before to some of the slave prisons in Ghana, West Africa, walking into some of those sites is an eerie feeling. It causes a dissettling because there was an awareness of all those who had gone before. And particularly from the trip to the Bunce Island slaves and horror at a bones island, tears and horror at a bones island. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left from Bones Island. In a deep wide harbor near Sierra Leone, there was once a castle that was well known. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left from Bones Island. Africans were brought from far and near to the slave trade prison. They all feared Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left from Bones Island. The British built this castle. It once was grand, but now its ruins are all that stands. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left from Bones Island. The ancestors' heartaches prevail in the winds their voices. Well, they march us on to the slave ship.
Right.
We last see our homeland when we left from Bones Island.
Right.
Tears and horror at a Bones Island. Tears and horror at a Bones Island. Africans on small ships, that's all their homeland when they left from Bones Island.
We have so many resources, so many degrees, so much money that our ancestors can never dream of. But yet though, we're in a very wretched condition. There cannot be any radical change without a movement. There must be a movement. In order to have a movement, there must be vibration.
Amen.
And the only vibration that moves anything is having some love for one another.
There you go.
And unfortunately, we don't love one another.
There you go. None.
It's obvious. This is why that we have to return to our tradition. Our tradition states that I is me. We is they. They is them. Them is us. And we're all in it together. That's our tradition. That is our tradition. That is all our tradition. Even for my white brothers and sisters. Because there's only one race, and that is the human race.
Right.
And that race started in Africa. There is no dispute. There is no superiority over black and white and brown. Everything started with black. We just migrated to a certain part of the world and our skin pigmentation changed. This is the thing that we have to understand. There is no superiority over skin color. There may be superiority over spirituality, if you will, over courage and righteousness, but not of the hue. So it's very important that we have to return back to our tradition. Here amongst us right now, our tradition tells us we are family. There's one thing missed in our tradition that we must return back to also, and that is accountability and responsibility. We are all family. If one of you neglect your responsibility, then every one of us here suffers the consequences. And this is the mindset that we have to get back to.